koutou, and welcome to South Pacific Muscle. Mike, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, always good here, brother. Okay, tonight we've got a really special guest, someone that I sort of grew up with. I've got him ringing me, actually, so I'm going to hit pause for a minute.
Sammy will give us his life story, but should we give the viewers a few highlights first?
Yeah, I think so, man. I'm just going to bring up just a quick little something, actually, that I thought would be really good. Let's have a look at this one here. So for those people that don't know, Sammy, look, absolute legend of Australian bodybuilding. Numerous Mr. Universes, hit the world scene in 1982 and continued competing right through in the 2000s, 2009 perhaps, maybe later. IFBB Pro, and on the cover of a ton of magazines throughout the era. And, you know, guys my age and even another half generation above me, you know, looked up to Sammy because he was one of the top athletes on the scene. So, yeah, can't wait to talk to him, actually.
It just did a little bit of background on him. Apparently he was trained by Reg Park, so he was around that Arnold era. Be interesting to hear his reflections on how things are the same or different these days.
Yeah, really excites me when you hear names like that, like, you know, like Reg Park. I mean, you know, to even meet someone like that for me would be a huge honour, let alone, you know, to have interaction with someone like that. And I guess, you know, Sammy's had some experiences in the sort of some of the golden era of bodybuilding, so it's going to be real interesting to kind of hear some of those experiences, and I think I'll be a little bit jealous, to be honest.
It won't be the first time I've been jealous of people on this podcast, though. Just about every time I am.
Oh, I know. But hey, look, it'll be cool, and we'll be able to do a bit of digging about the 90s versus today, which is always a controversial topic, but be interesting to get someone's take who actually competed out in that era at a high level and see what he thinks compared to today's guys. Also,
forget all the better cameras, better lighting, better filters debate. So what did they look like? You were there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
presumably still.
Sorry, Mike.
Presumably sort of still involved in the scene in some way, shape or form at the moment. So you'll be looking at the shows and seeing the guys as they present now.
Yeah. The other thing I'm really interested in talking to Sammy about is about how life's been moving into, like, you know, into 60s sort of thing and training as a 6-year-old. Real interesting stuff. Gotcha.
Hey.
How are you, Sammy?
Jesus Christ, forever.
Technology, eh?
Too old.
Well, hey, look.
Computer illiterate.
Oh, look, I think that's all of us in the room, man. We're all heading in that direction real quick. So, but one of us in here looks like they're still training the house down, and that's you, my friend. Looking good.
Yeah, long time, mate.
Yeah.
I've been training 46 years now.
I saw that the other day, 46 years. Hey, I just turned 46, so but she's a long road there, man. That's cool. Really good, man. Hey, really, really happy to have you on, Sammy. You know, you're a real icon both in Australia and to a lot of New Zealanders. There's a lot of the younger guys here that probably don't know about you, so we're real interested to kind of get into a bit of that. But how's life been treating you over there with lockdown and things in recent time?
It's fine. During lockdown, all I did was walk. I was walking like 15 Ks a day along the beach with my dog.
Oh, good times.
I didn't train, but you know, the thing is, I've held this muscle in my frame for so long. I lost about 8 Ks, and I'm finding it hard to put back on because it's muscle I've been trying to just holding on to over the last so many years since I retired from competing.
Yeah.
You know, but apart from that, as soon as I started training, everything started rounding up again. It wasn't long, but it was hard to put on the kilos, you know.
Yeah, because you stay so lean. I saw some of the photos of you lounging in your sun lounger, and you've still got a midsection that I think most 20-year-olds would be bloody jealous of.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always had it. Even as a kid, when I started training, I was only 48 kgs. And, while I was doing so much, I used to run and swim every day. Then I used to get home when I was about 15. I'd get home with a couple of Iraqi guys. They're much older than me. And they'd be doing dips and chins every night, So I got to the thing where I'd be doing dips and chins at 15 years old. And I just started growing.
Oh, God. So is that where you sort of kicked off, and where to from there in terms of getting into the gym? And I'd just love to hear your backstory, man.
Well, you know what? I used to sit there. I used to sit there and catch a tram to school, and I saw a couple of big bodybuilders. And I'm thinking, Peter Lindsay, if you've heard of him.
Yep.
Peter Lindsay, he won a lot of shows back in the days, and Neil Brophy. So then I thought to myself, I need some money to join the gym. So I got a job pumping petrol after school.
Yep.
And as soon as I got the money, first thing I did was join the gym and stop pumping petrol.
And you hit your first show, because I saw a photo, and it's really cool. There were photos, because sometimes when you look back, it's hard to find photos of the early days because they're not digitized yet. But I saw a photo of you at 17 in a show.
Yeah. Look, I don't know if it's probably genetics. As soon as I stopped doing all the track and field and stuff like that, I gained, what was it, about 30 Ks in the first year. And it was, and the thing, there was no dieting. It was like, I just knew I had to eat. So I was eating up to 36 eggs a day. I was eating steaks, but the eggs, I didn't eat them. I used to get a dozen eggs, blend them, a couple of cups of weight gain, a couple of cups of protein powder, mix it in a gallon container, and just shake it all up and take it to school with me.
Oh.
And in between, while the class was on, if I thought I need to have some protein, I started teaching, can I go to the toilet? And I go straight to my locker. And it'd be a big container like that, and I'll just be swallowing and drinking. So from not eating much to forcing myself to eat. And I gained 30 Ks in a year. I started just before I was 16, and at 17, I started competing. So a little photos you see of me standing next to Graham Lansfield and all of the other bodybuilders. I did well. I won 28 shows straight. Even at 17, my first year, I won I'd win the Junior Australia and my class in the Open Australia, the Junior Australasia, my class in the Open Australasia. So as a 17-year-old, I was just winning almost everything I competed in.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's sort of unheard of, really. Nowadays, you're not. If you see a 23-year-old that wins a show, you think, shit, he's young, but 17. Wow.
Something in the water in Australia. You're the original lead priest, aren't you?
Hey, it would have been good if they did send us off to the junior universe and stuff in them days.
Yeah.
But they never did. So it wasn't. See, I stopped competing as a junior at 19 because Paul Graham said to me, look, nobody wants to compete against you. So and they weren't getting many contestants. So I ended up competing in senior shows, which, in my class in the open shows, I was winning them. And then in 1980, he rang me up and said, oh, would you like to compete in the Junior Australian Championships? Because it qualified you for the Junior Universe, so you can go over to Africa, Reg Park's Junior Universe. And I said, yeah, all right. And he let me know 6 weeks before. So I went over, I won that, flew to South Africa, won the Junior Universe. Then I lived with Reg Park over there and his family.
What we talked to Mike and I spoke about this earlier because Mike read about that, and I just said, for me to meet someone like Reg Park, I'd be in awe because he's just an absolute icon and like a founding father of bodybuilding in some respects. How was it meeting Reg and working with Reg?
You know, the funny thing is, John Park picked me up from the airport when I got over there. And along the way, we were talking and stuff like that. And then we got back to the hotel and he said to me, "Come here, look what you look like." And I gave him a look what I look like at the hotel. And he goes, "I'm going to call my dad. He's going to freak when he sees you." And I said, "What?" He goes to me. So Reg came to my room and then knew a few words in Greek as well because you're doing all the Hercules movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And from then we clicked, you know. He, after I won the show, he said, "You're staying with us." So I ended up staying with him for about 3 months.
Wow.
Getting up in the morning is a real, you know what, I've probably based all myself around him as well. It was just like a best father that a kid could ask for. He did everything for his family. Yeah. Like I do with my kids. I don't leave them. I'd rather not work and take them to do their sports.
I see
than train people. So all I do now is work 4 hours a day and make sure that 3:30 p.m. the kids come home. I'll take them to jiu-jitsu and footy training and look after the kids. And it's exactly how Reg is. And I just based myself along what he did.
And I just, while we're there, I'm going to divert and say congratulations. Someone got a green belt the other day.
Yeah. No, not a green belt, a blue belt.
Oh, she got blue. Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, you know what? They've been stuck. She's been stuck on green, and my son has still got an orange with the black stripe around it because he's the only one who's had one in the club.
Yeah.
Because they started so young. I think he was about 5 and she was 6, or he was 4 and she was 6.
Yeah.
So they've been doing it for 8 years now.
Yeah, my boy's 7 years in, and he's just gone blue. So, but he's rolling tomorrow, so that's why we're heading down tomorrow morning to a tournament. So I'll send you some video footage when we're down there.
Oh yeah, send it.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah, it'd be great. See, my kids have won the Australia, Australasia, Oceania. They've never lost a tournament, and they don't want to compete anymore. And my daughter's 15.
Yep.
And my son's 13, and they're in senior classes because they're too good for the others.
Yeah.
And my daughter, she beats all the seniors. They don't want to grapple her.
I think my boy's the same. He was saying he tried to enter the men's, but his profile, because he's 16, wouldn't let him. But he was a bit annoyed because in the submission-only tournaments he enters the men's. So, but anyway, he's got a good competition tomorrow. They've got 5 or so guys, so it should be.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
But
it's so good for them. It disciplines them.
Sport, eh? Great sport.
It's very, disciplines the kids. My kids, they're not troublemakers. My daughter actually interviewed her yesterday for they're doing something for the Beam International, so they did a big story on her.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Nothing wrong with having your daughter being able to look after herself either, is there?
Oh, yeah. She gets me in a couple of locks and I said, "Hey, relax. Daddy's old now. You're going to break my neck."
I've been saying the same thing. I was like, "Come on, man. I'm too old."
Oh, yeah. You don't want him to get you in arm bars and stuff because our shoulders aren't going to take it anymore.
Nah, that amazes me. Ours shorten up and that. And by the time our arm's sort of nearly straight, we're tapping, whereas theirs sort of hyperextends 15 degrees and they're not even blinking.
Yeah, so my daughter was saying yesterday, she's bending her arm back like that. And she goes, "Look at this, Dad. My arm can bend right back." She goes to me, "That's why they can't arm bar me and stuff like that because I don't feel I get out of them." I said, "Oh, you're lucky."
Gold. Right, back to bodybuilding. So we're at Reg Park and you spent 3 months there. That must have been an amazing time.
Yeah, well, you know what? We did the usual thing. Reg will get up early in the morning, wake me up, breakfast. I'd go to the gym with him. We used to catch up. I forget what that gym was called. It was one of his old gyms. He owned quite a few gyms at the time. Yeah. And we'd go and do our morning workouts. I think we're there by 5:30 or something. Reg is always in bed by 8.
Wow.
So he was disciplined with everything he did.
Yeah.
And then we come back and, of course, like Reg Park loved the sun. So he'd always go by the pool, even if it was 16 degrees, if the sun was out, you'd have these foil things made up where you had the reflector things where the sun will hit him. So we just lie in the sun all through the day then till lunchtime.
Yeah, I think you've carried on that habit. I've seen a fair bit of...
I'm always in the sun. I was thinking, why do I go... As soon as the sun's out, I'll just go and lie in the sun. Rather than sit indoors and stuff, I'll go and lie in the sun.
Nice. Oh, cool. Hey, so do you want to tell us about winning that first universe and then the transition into early professional career?
Yeah. Well, you know, I stopped competing in the IFBB for a while because Paul wanted me to compete under 70 kilos. And it was so hard for me to do because I just won the overall Australia, beating, actually it was the Australia, and then they had a competition called the Night of the Champions, which they invited all the bodybuilders that had won Mr. Australia, Mr. Australasia, all the Australian legends, you know. And I just turned 22. I won that, but I was sitting exactly on 79 Ks. And then Paul Graham gets in touch with me and says, I can't compete in the IFBB universe in at Las Vegas. I think it was the 84, because I can't compete unless I dropped under 70 kilos. So that there was no way I was going to do it.
Yeah.
And even though I'd already paid my airfares to go over there, I went to Vegas. Reg was there. Everybody was spewing that I wasn't competing. Mike Christian comes up to me because I'd met him earlier. Yeah. Said to me, fuck, Sam, you look fantastic. What class are you doing? I said, I'm not competing. They got someone else competing. He goes, what? They allowed Graham to compete in that class. Yeah. So I couldn't compete. Graham Lansfield. Yeah. But I was there watching. But he came second that year.
Oh, wow. Cool.
It would have been good it would have been good for me to have competed because they could allow more than one contestant. Yeah. But Paul said no at the time, so it was no, you know.
The answer is the answer.
What was the deal with the 70 kilo limit? Was that, what was the deal with the 70 kilo limit?
Oh, because he wanted somebody under 70, which was because I was the smallest in height. He wanted me under 70, Graham under 80, and he had Richard Jonker under 90. So he wanted everybody, all his guys in a different class, you know. But it wasn't going to work for me because I was at that stage where I was growing and I couldn't get under 70 kilos. Yeah, so
winning shows at 79. You don't want to drop 9 kilos of muscle.
No, it was only like a week later. You know, so I gave it a miss after that. I took 1985 off. And then Joe Lopez approached me and said, hey, we have an NABBA universe if you want to coming up. And I thought, oh, that's all right. I'll compete in the Australia. So I competed in the NABBA Australia, which in 86, somebody won it 7 times in a row, but they didn't compete that year. Gary Law.
Oh, yeah.
Gary Law. Gary didn't compete in that show. He only did an exhibition. That's the only Australia he didn't win. Because I reckon he had to compete against me for the overall. So he never competed in it. But we flew out to London together, and I ended up winning the NABBA Universe that year. And his missus goes to me, you better look after him because if he doesn't win, he's going to crack up. He didn't. I don't think he placed. But eventually he got up there and won it, you know?
Yeah.
He tried. He must have done, I think he did about 10 universes.
Oh, holy shit.
But eventually he won it, so he just kept on going and going until he won it.
Yeah,
I went there, my first attempt, I won it. Then I got a second and a second the following year. And then the IFBB approached me. And they approached me and asked me if I want to turn IFBB Pro because I'd won so many amateur shows.
Yeah.
So I accepted my pro card in 89. I didn't compete that year. I think the 91 was the first year I competed.
Yeah.
I did really well. I think I did well in my first show over there. I came 7th in the Niagara Falls against Kevin Levrone, all these guys, you know.
What a golden era to be on stage too.
Porter, Cottrell, who else was competing? There was Albert Beckles competed. I think Albert Beckles won that. It was his last show he won.
Yeah.
Sonny was there. There was a whole lot of us. That was my first year of competing. It was the golden era. If you look at all the names, you know.
Yeah. They're the ones that I remember.
You know,
they're the ones that I was just getting into bodybuilding, and I was getting the magazines, and they were the names that were there, you know. And a lot of those names, you know, the younger guys that we train in the gym now don't know. They've never heard of them. But I'm like, you've got to look at these guys. These guys are class. It was a classy era.
Exactly. Things have changed now. It's not as I don't know. I don't like the look now, even though all these guys that are competing now, they're still friends of mine and we talk and stuff like that all the time, all the big pros. Yeah. It's just changed. There's no more. Remember they used to stand behind a curtain and you knew who it was. They'd do the silhouette and you think, oh shit, that's Frank Zane. Oh, that's Boyer Coe, or that, you know. And now they all look the same behind a curtain. They've all got that big full look, you know. You don't know who's who.
That was one of the questions we thought we'd ask you. It says you were there and saw the 90s bodybuilders. There's a lot of talk about which era was has the conditioning fallen off these days. You know, we can kind of get into the use of insulin or GH or whether it's affecting the looks on them. But you know, from a man who was there and saw them on stage with them, and you see them now, do you think there's a change in condition of both the pros and at the amateur level now?
You know, when all the change started, probably 91, 92, with Dorian stepping it up a level.
Yeah.
In 91, we did the New York Night of Champions together. And we were in the same room, and I was lying underneath this table, and Dorian says, "Hey, Sam, get up, give still your legs." Because at the time he goes, I was front stage when you won the university, and you just freaked everybody out because you had the most outstanding legs there. So I think that year there he looked good, but the following year took it to a different level. Now, I don't know. You know what? The classic guys look like the guys did back in the 90s, early 90s.
Yeah.
But I still don't think they're as good, but that's the look.
I like what the classic class has brought to bodybuilding. I mean, I've always liked the freaks. I've always liked, you know, the mass monsters, but I admire the aesthetics, and, you know, some of the guys coming through now, you know, you look at them and it does, to me, kind of, you know, it's got that bygone era, that sort of, you know, but it wasn't just a case of more is better, but just mess with class, perhaps, you know.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Well, you know what? We like the freaks because we want to see someone freaky. Even like the women's bodybuilding. I know, you know, Christine Emble and stuff like that. She started bodybuilding, she goes, because of me. She was sitting there training and she came to one of my seminars and she goes, "I want to look like you." I said, "What?" I still keep, she writes it all the time on stories and stuff. She goes, "No, I want to get legs like you. I want to get massive." And I said, she was only, I think she was 15 or 16. And I said to her, "Are you serious?" She goes, "Yeah, I just want to get huge." And then she ended up becoming a freak. Yeah. But we need both. You know, we need the freaks, which attracts a lot of people because they just want to see the big monsters up there, you know. And then you need the classic for the people who can't get to that level. There's not everybody's going to become like that. Not everybody's willing to take a chance to get like that.
Yeah.
Do you think the conditioning aspect of it has dropped off? Yeah, the conditioning level of the athletes
yeah.
has dropped off? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they haven't got, none of these guys are striated and stuff like that on stage. You can see that they're full, but they haven't got that same detail that they had in the 90s. You know, like early, like Dorian was still detailed earlier on. Remember, he was just like granite.
Yeah.
But later on, they started just getting that round, full look with no detail.
Yeah.
But the bigger they started getting, the less detail they had.
They seem to, you know, really favour that, particularly in all the American shows. Whereas if you go to some of the European shows, and even more so perhaps the NABBA shows over in Europe, you know, they're still favouring the tighter, harder, leaner look rather than the, I don't know, I call it the bubble look. You know, just sort of, yeah.
Well, you know what? It was the other way around back in the 80s. NABBA was always the bulkier look, and IFBB in the 70s and 80s was that rip look. And then it changed. Now the NABBA are going more like classic look, and IFBB has changed it around. They're going that big full look now.
Yeah.
It was completely different because I remember when I competed, they said that I was the hardest person they've ever seen on stage. You know, in that the first Universal one, they said you just changed everything. You just came in ripped. Your legs were striated. Your whole body was cut, and you've changed it. And then then every other year, you saw like Charlie, Claremont, and all that. They started getting that ripped look rather than that full look. You know, in '86 when he beat me for the overall, he wasn't ripped. You read some of the stories, and they said this time here the shorter guy should have won. But I was competing in England. You know what was I going to do? Yeah. You compete against the English, he was soft that year, and then after that, he just started getting that shredder look and looked unbelievable. And so even before when he retired, he had a different physique. He had a great physique. Yeah. The small waist, no bubble gut, abs, you know.
I remember one of the guys here, I don't know, you might remember him. He was on, owned a gym here, but the guy, Wolf off Gladiators.
Oh, yeah.
He would always tell me the story in the gym about the one time he beat Charles Claremont. He said very early on in his career, and he said, I retired after that, so he never got to beat me.
See, I judged Sonny Smith back in 1980 in the Mr. Queensland, just before the Olympia. I flew back from South Africa because I'd won the Junior Universe, and I was guest posing up there. Sonny was just a big, soft, you know. I don't think he placed. I think he must have come. There was 9 people up there. He would have come 8th, you know. But after that, he started getting that shredder look. He dropped down to he was competing in the 70 kilo mark at one stage.
Wow. He
dropped down to 70 Ks, winning, doing all the Victorias and the Australians and stuff like that, and then slowly just blew up, you know.
Yeah. Hey, I saw a post the other day with a picture of you. Would have been in your IFBB days, and you were, you're in good nick, but said that you were 103 kilos at 5'6".
Yeah, that was the last pro show I done. And you know what? And I found it hard to get to 103. I don't know. I packed on all the size and stuff. Yeah. I tried something different for the first time.
Yep.
And it worked. And then you know what happened? I got back the following year. I had a motorbike accident, and that sort of stopped me from competing again. But I was at my biggest then. But you know what? Even at my biggest, like that, Kevin Levrone were sitting backstage. That was taken at the Chicago Grand Prix, I think. Yeah. And Kevin Levrone goes, "Hey, we're going to go backstage, you know, because we're going to go on soon." I said, "I'm not in the top 12." He goes, "What?" And then Mike Matarazzo says to me, "I would have told you the top 10 before you even came." Because in them days, it was like that. You had a WIDA contract and you stayed in America, you'd do well. The first show I competed, I came 7th against all these guys, and I beat a lot of guys. Yeah. And then Nasser was even in, and Nasser placed behind me, Nasser Sombaty and all that. And then because you fly back to Australia and they don't hear from you again for another year, you're not going to get nothing. They're not going to place you. You need to you need to stay there. It changed later, but when Weeder was running everything, he wanted you to live in the States. So he can use you for photo shoots and use you for this and for that.
Yeah. A lot of guys have told me about that and sort of talked about almost having to campaign and promote your name so that, you were known amongst the circles and you'd get the call outs, because without getting the call outs, you just weren't in the running for things. So,
yeah. And so I would have kept on going, but you know what? It was costing me a fortune, because the IFBB at the time weren't paying for none of your hotels and nothing. So I'd work all year and it'd cost me like 20 grand for the airfares, accommodation, because you'd have to spend 6 weeks. So you do the Niagara Falls, Chicago. What else we have? The New York Night of Champions, the Montreal. So we do all these competitions, but you got to pay your own airfares, your own accommodation, and you have to stay where all the officials are staying, because they get it for nothing. So you're back in the 90s, you're paying $260 a night, and you have to stay with them. I could have stayed up the road, but no, you got to stay in the same hotels. It's costing you a fortune.
Yeah, all that said, what an experience, man, and you wouldn't trade it for anything, would you?
Oh, no. Look, no, I still love it. You know what? I only train like half an hour a day.
Yeah.
Because I get up at 5 a.m., take my dog for a walk. I get into the gym at 6:30.
Yep.
I train flat out for half an hour, and then half an hour I'll pump out 30, 35 sets. Everything's supersetted, giant setted.
Yeah. And
then I start work from 7 till 11 or 12. And that's it. I'm done for the day.
Love it. Like, I love it. It's good.
I'm, still in condition. Oh, you can see my abs.
Oh, I think if we can look like that at 60.
Can you see that?
Yeah, mate.
Let's see.
Pretty good wheels. I'd trade. I'd swap you.
Hey?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, everything's still there.
Oh,
I'm lucky because the only injuries I've had is through motorbike accidents. Yeah. Apart from that, I've never injured myself in the gym. Yeah. And the past few weeks, I've gone back to old school, like doing press behind neck and stuff. And everybody's going to me, your shoulders are blowing up again and everything's coming up, because I said I'm doing my pull downs behind the neck again. Forget about all this other just front pull downs, don't pull down behind neck, press behind neck, and everything's starting to come up again. Everything's starting to round up. So go back to old school training.
That was one of the questions I had for you. Is like over the years, did you focus a lot on prehab or injury prevention or recovery? I mean, what do you attribute the staying injury free to over the years? The style of training, or?
You know what? Because I've always trained. I always train smart. I always make sure I stabilize everything before I do an exercise. I get a feel of the exercise before I actually push. I've squatted some heavy weight, but I've never done a single rep in my life. Mm-hmm. You know, I've squatted over 710 pounds, and it was for reps. Bench press I've done, because I have to be able to pick up that weight on whatever it is. If it's on bench press or if it's on flies, if I can pick up that weight, I'll make sure I'll rep it out. I'm not going to pick up something which I think I'm going to get one rep out of. Yeah. Because I'll tear something. You're taking the chance of injuries. You know, so I've been injury free because I trained heavy, but I made sure I was thoroughly warmed up. And my warm up wasn't stretching and stuff. My warm up was always the exercise you're going to do, pump out a couple of sets, and then get to the weight you're going to do your full working sets on that weight. So I've always done it like that. You know what? It's the same. I've trained with Mike Menser. You've probably seen some old photos of me spotting Mike and stuff. Yep. There's no one set maximum. You know how they say that we only do one set of lat pull downs or one set of this to failure. There's about 6 sets to get to that 1 set. It's the same with Dorian. He's not going to load 500 pounds on a lat pull down machine and start off with that first set. You know how they say the heavy duty workout? Yeah. Everyone does their warm ups before they do their working set.
Yeah. Very much that whole style of training has come full circle and seems to be the flavour of the month at the moment. With a new kind of branding and a bit of, a little bit packaged slightly differently, but it comes back to the same old, I think.
The same old, just pick them weights up, make sure you're pumping out the reps. I tell people, I've seen somebody posted something on Instagram before, and I said to them, you know what? You're a bodybuilder, you're not a powerlifter. Yeah. So don't hurt yourself. You've just started, competing and winning shows. Forget about trying to deadlift 700 pounds. If you're not repping it, I said to them, you're not developing your lower back. Yeah. Make sure you're a bodybuilder. What do you want to do? Bodybuilding or powerlifting? I don't know if he's answered me back, but he probably will. Then say, you're right, Sam. There's no need to go that heavy. I said to him, it's longevity. You want to train forever? Train smart. Don't overload and hurt yourself, and then all of a sudden, that's it. You're not going to train again.
Yeah, man. Look, it sounds like you, whatever you've done has worked, wonders from a development point of view, but also longevity point of view. Like, you've trained longer than I've been on the planet. And I'm really proud of the fact I've trained in the gym for 33 years, and I think I'm doing bloody well. But
you know what? You're going to do that. You're never going to stop.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
You can't.
No.
You can't. It's just like it's part of your life.
Don't know anything else, do we?
Yeah.
That's all we know.
Yeah, we'll be right.
Yeah. Hey, look, Sammy, I'm going to let you go, mate. But I really appreciate you talking to you. And look, I'd love to have another catch up, but further down the track. And
when I get to 70, 80.
Hey. Hey, look, it's been an absolute honour, my man, and you've been very inspirational to a lot of the older guys over in New Zealand and right throughout Australia and the wider world. But hopefully some of the young fellows that are watching this and the younger ladies will be able to appreciate what a colourful and what a great career you've had, and the fact that if they play the cards right, they can still be training in their 60s as well.
100%. Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate it, mate.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks very much, Sammy.
Take care, Sammy.
See you guys. See ya. Bye.